call this meeting to order. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Opportunity to welcome all the entities that are here. This is an exciting time, I think, in Trinidad right now. We're just going to go around the table and introduce ourselves and make it as informal as possible. My name is Charlene Berlino. I represent Trinidad School District Number 1.
Rainer Forrest, Vice President of the School Board. Jack Bowers, Board Member of School District Number 1.
Paul Montero, School Board Member.
Chuck Montero, President of Trinidad State for just a few more days.
You sound too happy.
Oh, I'm so sad about it. That's the reality. So you have continuity. She's staying.
My name is Karen Burkholz, and I'm Vice President for Student Affairs at Trinidad State.
I'm Tom Aker, I'm the City Manager for Trinidad.
Carol Bolton, Trinidad City Council.
Bernadette Baca Gonzalez, Trinidad City Mayor.
I'm Anthony Mateo, City Councilman from Trinidad.
Larry Corner, School Board Member.
Catherine Salazar, Director, Department of Human Services.
And Manuel Rodriguez, Superintendent.
Would the county commissioners were invited in Mr. Carnes?
Yeah, I believe, I spoke with Leanne Everett last night, and she said she would be here in Anthony and Beta, so they might be here momentarily.
Okay. Well, we can just kind of talk. Tonight is basically a brainstorming night. All of us, I think, are faced with the same problems, a lot of projects and a lot of goals and not enough money. And as always, two heads are always better than one. And what we'd like to talk about are recreational facilities that we can all partnership on to promote the city and the county. And I know we have some tennis courts that have not been used in my recollection for at least 20 years, for sure. And I believe the college has some tennis courts, and I don't know when the last time those have been utilized.
There's 4 courts that look about the same as the school districts. And then we've got 1 court that was salvageable. We finished last year.
And are there any still at the golf course?
They're
Okay.
dangerous.
Okay. So what I thought is if we could have a meeting of the minds and determine how we can work on a project collaboratively to get some of these things functional, depending on the price range and also how much money, all of us can invest, have the time to invest or the money to invest in. So I'm just going to open it up.
Now, before we get started, since this is a school board meeting, once the group discussion is concluded, I'd like for us to have a couple of discussion items. One is the closing of the school, and the other item is negotiations, contract negotiations. Can we add that to tonight's meeting?
Don't really have an agenda per se.
But it's a work session for the school board, and I'm just wondering if we can do it. I think there's a couple issues I'd like to bring forward and have a discussion with just the board of us.
I don't know.
It depends.
It won't take long. It shouldn't take long.
No, I'm just wondering, in terms of the nature of the discussion, because we might want to go into executive session.
Yeah, I think with the negotiation, we need to go into executive session.
Yeah.
And the other, I think that's common, it's closing the school is information that could be aware of, should be aware of.
Okay, but I don't understand because that was all taken care of.
No, I don't think it was. To my satisfaction.
It was, yeah. We have that, all that was done.
It was approved by the board.
Yeah. It was all approved.
There was information sent out after.
No, the only thing that was going to be double checked was every school in the state of Colorado was assigned a number. And Ms. Mangino wanted to make sure that that number would be stayed the same for the school. And that was the only thing that was, for that night, that was tabled. But everything else has been taken care of. It was acted upon.
to my satisfaction, it hasn't been, so, yeah, I'd like to have that brought up tonight.
Well, it's a consensus.
You know, it's, normally on the sunshine law, we have to have an agenda, but, you know, if there are issues that are germane for executive session, I think they ought to, you know, talk about it after we finish with business here. Yeah, we get some minutes and talk about it.
We don't have a tape recorder for executive session, and it has to be taped.
Maybe we can, we'll see.
Well, just as a suggestion in terms of format, the tennis courts, and I think the city has tennis courts too, right over by the Riverwalk, there's some.
I'm not sure if there's any over there by Nino.
Just basketball courts?
Just basketball?
But I'd like to suggest that we go around the table for the other entities and see if they're, what they want to talk about too, and to kind of decide, you know, there's a range of issues, you know. And I'd kind of like to talk about mentoring and how we could work together to develop some mentoring. Matter of fact, I think there's already some projects that are related, involve the school kids and whatnot. Want to do that, each entity.
Okay, who would like to start? Mayor, would you, city council? Anybody?
I'm just pleased that we're having this dialogue between and among ourselves. I think anytime we can collaborate, even if the effort only results in one product where we come together, that's important, because then that's going to end up saving taxpayers' dollars. Plus, it also stimulates that communication between the school district and other government entities. I like your suggestion about the mentoring. I think one of the things that we need to offer youngsters is the opportunity to see government in action, and that might involve attending a city council meeting or attending a meeting of county commissioners. And over and above that, perhaps being more active in terms of volunteering time to read to youngsters at schools or to provide other mentorship opportunities. And then I think as we move forward as a city, we have to work together, because unless the school district, the hospital, the city government, and the county work together, I mean, those are the linchpins for any economic growth in any community. One of the first two questions people will ask is, what kind of hospital service do you have and what are your schools like? And there really is the importance that we all collaborate, and particularly now that tax dollars are becoming fewer and fewer, we have to collaborate to find efficiencies. And as we popcorn and talk aloud, maybe whole areas that we hadn't even contemplated will come to the forefront. So I'm just here willing to collaborate any way we possibly can.
If I could extend on the mayor's comments, one of the things that we really have to do is to provide services for our student population and our populace in the community. As you know, the student enrollment has increased the low socioeconomic status, and we are currently right at 70% socioeconomic deprived. Last year, we were at 60%, and the fact that our population is becoming more and more really speaks to the fact that we have to work together. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that President Berlino asked the health department to come and share some information, because I believe, I apologize, Ms. Salazar, to come and share information, because some of the data that she has is very, very varying. If I might be able to impose on the group and ask Ms. Salazar to share some data with us.
Well, kind of not being totally prepared this evening, but I guess I can kind of give you a state of the state in terms of human services projects and programs in our department. We are experiencing an all-time high in terms of participation in our food assistance program. Right now, as a matter of fact, today I met with the board, and currently the county has got about 1,460 cases, families in food stamps. And what that equates to on a caseload that high, there's about $365,000 a month going out in food assistance benefits. Over the last 2 years, our food assistance caseload has doubled. Up until about 2 years ago, we never saw our food assistance program exceed $2 million. The last 2 years, we have our food assistance caseload. Last year it was 4.1 million. We're looking at exceeding our food assistance caseload, probably close to 4.5 million. So in terms of families being eligible, and again, you know, our food assistance caseload growing is indicative of the economy within Los Animas County. We've seen a loss of jobs. We've seen some of the oil and gas industry slow down, or, you know, subcontractors have gone elsewhere. So that in turn, you know, evolves into, if families do not move away from Los Animas County and choose to stay, ultimately they are looking for a program in which, you know, there again, the family income is no longer there, and they're having to turn to our programs for basic necessities such as food. With Senate Bill 200, the Accountable Care Act, what we all call Obamacare, Medicaid expansion programs are also growing. You know, and over the last 3 years, we've heard a lot about Obamacare, and the goal is to get all those who are eligible for Medicaid to come on to Medicaid type programs, and if they're not eligible for, let's say, basic Medicaid, CHIP plus, then the health care exchange that we've been talking about. And it's basically going to work like car insurance. You kind of shop around, you find the plan that works for you, and if you meet the income guidelines, you will be eligible for a federal subsidy to help offset the cost of that medical premium. So the Obamacare piece of it is still kind of, they're still building it, but it's coming on pretty fast. Right now, primarily with our department, we are more concerned with the Medicaid eligibility. We really envision that in Los Animas County, because of our economic environment, we are probably going to determine more families eligible for Medicaid and CHIP plus than for the health care exchange. And probably the health care exchange is going to benefit probably more the individuals who are working and don't meet the basic Medicaid eligibility guidelines. So right now on our Medicaid caseload, we've got 2,260 cases. That equates probably about 6,000 people. There again, I'm talking cases. You figure on an average of probably 3 people per household, sometimes more given, you know, so we've got a fair amount of people eligible for Medicaid. So our TANF caseload, it again has doubled in the last 2 years. Again, indicative as people's unemployment runs out, there is no income to the household. And so, they're having to turn to our programs for basic subsistence in terms of paying the light bill, paying rent. And, you know, we have the LEAP program, which continues year after year through our department. So our caseload, you know, given the economic downturn of the last 5 years, this didn't start just with Los Animas County. Los Animas County was just a little bit slower in catching up with the rest of the country. We probably kind of fell behind in terms of catching up about a year, 2 years behind. We've been talking about the economic downturn across this country for over 5 years. And so we really have seen the economic impact in about the last 2.5 to 3 years here.
I think programs, low-income energy assistance, right? Is that?
Yes, yes. So those are, you know, kind of where we are. You know, we serve a population 0 to 100. We deal with a lot of families, a lot of children. And so, you know, in terms of the programs available through our department, we are seeing our caseloads grow.
And that's one of the reasons why it was so important for the school district to maintain its food service program. Because when I came 2 years ago, we were in a compromised position of almost losing our food service program. And with such a large population of children that are needy, then we could not afford to do that. And I'm glad to say, because of the action that the board took, especially with the policy, what it has done, it has allowed us to be at the level where we're pretty much meeting the needs of the budget and the community at the same time. So it's really important that we have some kind of recreational facilities to offset some of these needs for the students. And that's one of the reasons why I believe the city manager and I, when we discussed this along with Ms. Berlino and the mayor, we felt like it was something that we needed to see if we could brainstorm. So these are some of the reasons why it's really important for us to put together something.
During the summer months, it's in my recollection is correct, the city oversees and supports the t-ball and that kind of activity for kids. During the fall, we do football, as I recollect and understand. I don't know that there's a basketball league for you folks.
Yes.
Is there one during the winter? So, I mean, aside from the tennis courts that we've already discussed, there's a real need for adults to have some sort of recreational activities. In fact, we have been approached by having the swimming pool, which unfortunately is only an outdoor pool, but made available to seniors for therapy kind of oriented exercise. And we're trying to work through that, perhaps do it in the early morning when most kids aren't there and the pool will be available. But I think that while recreation is significant and important, there are huge pressing issues. And as the mayor has suggested, we are all so integrated in the decisions that we make when we have our respective meetings and cast our votes. What we're deciding actually impacts an entire county to some extent. And I think that for us to meet here tonight, all the entities involved, and Trinidad State has been a great partner. You have always adjusted and adapted yourself to meet the needs of the community. I recall that Phil Onport opened up the auto mechanics thing when there was need for that in the oil and gas field services. I'm an alumni of Trinidad State Junior College, and had it not been for that, I would have had a good start having graduated from career. I served 2 terms on the school board, so I understand the needs of education and those sorts of things. You talked about an increase in the needy population of our schools. Is that because there's an influx or increase that you have discussed, or are we having people who are more self-sustaining and self-supporting leaving our district for other districts? And that's going to, those students that remain, it's going to increase the numbers of persons in need. Not to suggest that that's a bad thing. The reality is that they are there and they need to be out, whatever it takes. I work, as most of you probably know, at the courthouse. And standing there at that door gives me a unique position in which I am able to keep my finger on the pulse of the community. I see people coming through those doors. I talk to them. I understand why they are there. Sometimes they're coming in there and they're looking for assistance, and I send them one door over to your doorstep, one street over to your door. Sometimes they're coming in there and they're making a decision whether they're going to buy their prescription or pay their property taxes for some of those elderly folks. Sometimes they're coming in and they're in handcuffs, which is a whole other story. Let's not forget, no, seriously, Jack, you did that for all your career. Those folks there, they're an issue. And a lot of that, they're driven to out of economic necessity to some extent and making poor decisions, trying to do things. But it's one of the realities that we have to deal with. And I don't know, it's such a big problem.
I was just going to say that with the down economy, with the loss of jobs, at times of unemployment or times that you have increases in things like domestic violence, you have increases in issues of addictions, people that don't have work, have idle time, get into trouble, and in some ways, we need to retool things in terms of refocusing ways for young people and older people too to find their way into the workplace. Carrie and Chuck, there was a grant that was awarded last year to help overcome gender bias in the workplace. And I know that you guys wrote up the grant. I actually went up to review grant proposals. They wouldn't let me look at yours, but I had reviewed some, and I believe you did well on that one. And the interesting thing about it, it's a way of finding work for people in new streams where they would not have otherwise even pursued a career. For instance, a young woman going to get an education as a firefighter, or as an electrician, or as a plumber, or a young man getting an education as a nurse. It was kind of a way of finding new avenues or ways for people to work their way into the workplace in spite of the stereotypes associated with gender. And I think you got that for several years. Or some of our kids, I think you draw on kids all across the county, or some of the kids in our program participating in that now?
If it's the same project, I know that the Girls in the Middle group has evolved from that grant that started a couple years ago. So that's the biggest one that's done outreach for younger students.
Well, I think that's an interesting concept of finding new and different ways of helping people work their way into the workplace. And of course, if young people have jobs, then they don't fall into the trap of dependency on public programs or the kinds of things that you have to get support services for. So,
Yeah, and then the importance and the value of collaboration. Looking into the kids graduated from HTA, they're leaving with an AA degree as well because of their time spent into college. That's really good use of time, good use of their time. And as a parent who sent 3 kids to school, and I'm still paying off school loans, it's a significant accomplishment when you've got 2 years left to pay for when you're going through a bachelor's degree or something like that. If you can get that. That's the kind of stuff that's really valuable and important. And in the past, we used to send our kids over to college for some things. I don't know if we still do that.
Yeah, we still do that.
But that's really valuable and important. We continue to do that.
and a co-curricular program that we have where our kids can actually undergo parallel studies and get credit for high school and for college credit. I was really impressed that we had a number of graduates that had 30 and 40 hours already under the belt in terms of the college head start.
And one of the things we're trying to do to help students is to lower our costs. Something we call first choice scholarships now, which rewards academic performance. So you've got to perform at a B or higher. But we discount your tuition if you do that, and it's pretty significant, which, and if you want more details, this lady was the one that designed that program. And also, if the student doesn't want to live at home, there's also a discount on resident halls. And we do have local kids that will stay in the resident hall with that experience. So away from home, not so far away from home. And the longer we can keep them here, I think the better chances that they might return to this community sometime along the way. they start to make relationships, and wherever your life partner is typically where you end up. So we hope that scholarship program will start to have an impact that help keep our kids here also, and provide an avenue in higher ed. And most of the students qualify for maximum on federal financial aid, and so that allows them to have money in their pocket, especially if they stay at home, if they can buy the books with and buy their gasoline with, and so on. So we hope it'll start making a big difference. So it's called First Choice, and what we did was allow them to stack them together. Lots of times, if you get one scholarship, sorry, you can't get this one, you can pile them up. And so you can come out, if you got this dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, there's a scholarship for that. Grade point scholarship, I think that's the main ones, resident hall scholarships and so on.
And all that's necessary is to be adaptable, be flexible, and creative about the things that you do,
Right.
and the approach to meet the needs of people, and the willingness to work together.
Right, I think that's absolutely critical. I won't be here much longer, but I think it's, from my experience, I'm an old guy, so I had some experience here. The more we are collaborative together, there's a synergy that starts to develop. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it starts to equal 3. And so I hope this is the beginning of a lot of conversations that can help us all work together for the benefit of the community.
This is a good opportunity for the school district to thank junior college and Ms. Gabrielson, because we worked together on the concurrent situation last year. And as a result, we had many of our kids who took advantage of it. You want to tell us a little bit about the concurrent program?
Well, the concurrent program is actually utilized by most every school district in our county, and it allows for a student through their school counselor and their individual school district to take credit either on their campus or with our institution. So as Mr. Matei indicated, we've seen students graduate from high school with an associate's degree, both from Trinidad High and Holy Trinity, from lots of schools throughout the region. But it is a wonderful opportunity, and it is a challenge for students to meet all of the commitments to meet their degree requirements, but it can be done, and it's not for everyone, but it is a great opportunity.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily sequential. When I was growing up, you had to do things in proper sequence and stuff, but it seems to me now that the high school age kids are more like young adults than they are juveniles and kids. And there's a degree of sophistication about what they do in their life experiences and technology and all that kind of stuff. They're able to manage and juggle a lot more things at one time in their life so that they can make milestone accomplishments without having to wait 2 years for this and 3 years for that, and until I finish high school, can I go to college and such. There are things that they can do together, and they're able to easily handle, and plus it eliminates a lot of their idle time.
And according to President Obama, he wants to do a continuation of high school by adding on 2 extra years so that students are going to be able to get some type of a vocational training or college prep, so that they will have some kind of background before they actually do go into a university or 4-year institution. That's in the back burner right now.
You made a good point, I think, about the students being on campus longer and maybe coming back to the community. And I think one of the things we all know is that we have a pretty severe drain on our talent that leaves the community. And so I think, if the collaboration of everybody working together could maybe, I think we need to start talking about attracting small businesses to the community. I know the city's working on that. I think the county's working on some of that too, as well as the college. And you guys have done a fabulous job with the vocational education program. And I think that's what we need to look at a little more too, because in my travels and opportunities with the Trinidad Golf Association, we've been able to help kids go to school with college, and a number of the kids, we had a couple of females who went one into diesel mechanics and one into the lineman program. And they were just really pleased with that opportunity. And so, we have a lot of talent, and it just does, just getting the opportunity to give those kids the opportunity to succeed, and hopefully, draw that small business back to the community so that we we can grow to take care of all the needs, like Anthony said, the needs are huge.
Well, Dr. Gonzalez, you were pointing out the things that we need to bring people back to the community, and entities like the college or the hospital or the school district are important in terms of economic development. If you've got young working families with kids, one of the first things they look at is what are the schools like, what's the situation there. If you've got folks my age that are retired or close to it and moving into a community because they like the climate, they like the people, whatever, they're looking at hospitals, understand that healthcare is a big thing for me. And if you have the support services like the college